claiming that the smear campaign is their counterclaim against her. Don't you hate that? Isn't that annoying? Somebody makes a claim at you. You defend yourself. Baldoni's defending himself, and that defense that he's making is now seen as a smear on her. At what point will she realize there isn't a coordinated campaign? People just don't like you.
It's a very important piece of this puzzle that not enough people are talking about, and we're going to give it its due, because those texts should be admissible. I don't understand how they got them. Through a fake subpoena, through a shell corporation. It's shady.
Imagine being forced to openly withdraw one of the strongest claims you have ever stated. That is exactly what happened during Blake Lively's deposition. The real question is why, what surprising turns led to this turnaround? And how does her quick shift in position change everything we thought we knew about the case up to this?
Started getting messages from people asking you to pull the video, correct?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I got a message, it was prior to opening weekend, basically telling me that these things were going to come out about Blake Lively, that she was going to be a victim, and that all the women on the set were actually victims, and that the last thing I would want to do would be to speak negatively on a victim, so that I should take my video down, and basically that allegations were going to come out against John.
What exactly did Blake Lively disclose in her deposition that completely shifted her case? The shocking statement she made not only weakened her earlier claims, but also cast serious doubt on the credibility of her entire legal plan. To understand how it fell apart, we need to go back to the start from the beginning. Lively's main claim was that Wayfair Associates carried out an intentional smear effort against her, an allegation as bold as it was harmful, aimed at portraying her as the victim of a deliberate attempt to ruin her reputation. This was not just a minor point. It was the key pillar of her legal case and a major factor in gaining public sympathy. But under the heavy pressure of a deposition, cracks began to appear. In a surprising turn, Lively admitted that the smear campaign she mentioned relied on censored information, details so heavily hidden that they could not support the sweeping statements she had been making. That admission is where the whole story began to collapse. If the supposed proof of a targeted campaign cannot even be clearly seen, reviewed, or confirmed, then what does that say about the rest of her claims? Suddenly, her once strong accusation appeared unclear, speculative, and possibly exaggerated. Redactions, after all, are not just marks on a page. They deliberately hide information, sometimes for privacy or legal reasons, but they can also block important context by depending so much on incomplete, censored material. Lively unintentionally created confusion around her own accusations. The deposition only made this worse. While depositions may appear to be simple formalities, they are often the points where carefully crafted stories fall apart. Lawyers use them to find inconsistencies, to break down polished public remarks, and to reveal what does not fully add up. That seems to be exactly what happened here. By admitting under oath that her most explosive claim relied on incomplete, redacted proof, Lively damaged the core of her own case even more. This revelation did not only weaken her claims, it reshaped the entire dispute. The belief in her accusation that Wayfair organized a smear effort was now barely holding on. And when a case depends on one main claim, a weak position is the last place you want to be. Redactions, of course, could hide nearly anything: sensitive messages, unrelated details, or even information that directly hurts Lively's stance. But whatever they covered, their absence left a serious gap in her story. If her statements cannot be independently confirmed because the proof is hidden, then they cannot hold the same strength in court or in the public eye. This is why her admission is so significant. It does not just harm credibility, it turns her entire legal plan upside down. Most telling of all, this shift forced her legal team to change their approach, completely stepping back from the Wayfair allegations and moving their focus elsewhere. That quick change says a lot, bringing up a new set of questions. If Wayfair is no longer the focus, then who is? And what does this show about where Lively's legal battle is really going next?
Very important piece of this puzzle that not enough people are talking about, and we're going to give it its due, because those texts should be admissible. I don't understand how they got them. Through a fake subpoena, through a shell corporation. It's shady as F. And that's what's problematic here for me. She wants to, oh my God, because I'll admit it. I don't believe that what's his name? Wallace Jed didn't do some sort of like Reddit work. It's hard to believe he didn't do anything But whatever he could have done didn't amount to us saying it. That's what's so frustrating. And so, but Blake, on the other hand, literally in cahoots with the New York Times. The metadata proves it. They were getting the information first, and then the New York Times didn't even give Justin the full amount of time to respond because they needed to jump on that story to get the clicks and the views. That's not journalism. The fact that TMZ knew I was subpoenaed before me, that's crazy. Where did you get that information from? There are so many pieces along the way that prove they are being just as dirty as they're alleging Justin is. But then in the court and with the judge, we're fine. No, this is shady. So it's incredibly frustrating. It's very, and thank God other outlets are starting to pick up this press. It is slowly getting tickled because Emily Baker, who has been a little silent on this case. Some people are frustrated with why she's been silent. Some are noticing she's friends with Ryan. Is that why she's trying to play more Switzerland? I don't know. But she did a whole post calling out this, along with Molly, about how dumb it was to subpoena the creators. This is a terrible look. This is going to blow up in your face. And it is. It is going to blow up in their face. And they are starting to get more backlash. And it's yet again more examples of why she's a bully and why we reported the way we did. So no, this isn't a retaliation campaign. No one's paying me to do my reporting. This is insane what she keeps doing. Thankfully, Justin did get a win. One of his co-stars, James Brolin, Josh Brolin's father, married to Barbara Streisand, a Hollywood icon. He is supporting Justin. Brolin directed him in in a short film, Royal Reunion. And he asked so many questions. He was so helpful, Brolin recalls, of working with the Jane the Virgin Star. But I didn't realize he was learning, because very soon after that, the guy's directing his own stuff. So proud of Justin, because God, he's written 2 wonderful books on being a man and being courteous and teaching boys not to fear their fears. And now he's directing 3 movies. Started off with 1 episode of the Jane the Virgin. Now he's directed 3 pictures, written 2 books, does TED Talks to help people. When asked about the legal saga with Blake, I don't understand what's going on right now, but I hope.
Why would Blake Lively's legal team suddenly move their focus away from Wayfair and toward Liner Friedman? At first, it seems like a major turn, and it is, but the reasons behind it may be more tactical or maybe more desperate than they seem. The weaknesses in Lively's smear campaign claims exposed during her deposition quickly turned into large gaps that left her original accusations against Wayfair barely standing. What came next was a clear shift shown in a letter from Kevin Fritz, attorney for Justin Baldoni, which revealed more than just a legal update. It gave insight into how Lively's team was trying to recover their position. In the letter, Fritz shared that Lively was starting to admit what once felt impossible. There was no retaliatory smear campaign by Wayfair against her. The impact of that admission is significant. Her case was originally built on the claim that Wayfair carried out a deliberate attack to ruin her name, portraying her as a victim of a planned campaign. Now, with that claim falling apart, her legal strategy has changed completely, moving away from the smear campaign story and instead focusing on defamation claims made after the litigation began. The new focus, Brian Friedman of Liner Friedman, who represents Baldoni, with Lively's side, saying his public comments to the media after the case started counted as defamation. This change could be seen as an attempt to find more stable ground after her Wayfair story failed under pressure by pointing at Friedman. Her lawyers might hope to reshape the narrative into one easier to prove with real evidence and less dependent on showing a broad conspiracy. But a turn like this rarely happens without cause. When legal teams change direction mid-case, it often signals they have hit a wall with their original claims. In this situation, Lively's lawyers may have decided they could not effectively prove a Wayfair-backed smear campaign, forcing them to pursue a different argument that focuses on damage to reputation rather than organized planning. Defamation is naturally simpler to argue when it is about specific statements instead of proving a whole network of intent. Still, this sudden turn brings big questions. Why now? And why in this form? To outsiders, the move may look less like a well-planned legal tactic and more like a rushed attempt to keep the case alive. If her accusations against Wayfair held strong weight, would this shift even be needed? Also, this change creates new issues for others involved. Content creators, many already targeted by subpoenas, now find themselves caught in a case growing into something larger than they expected. The shift shows this is not only about Lively's reputation, it is about reshaping the whole story of the lawsuit, expanding its range in ways that may involve far more people than first thought. And this is where it becomes even less clear the subpoenas, even as Lively's legal side moves from smear campaign claims to defamation, their pursuit of creators' hints at a deeper, more deliberate goal. The question is, what exactly are they looking for and why?
First, the smear campaign was Jed Wallace, the digital mastermind. Then Tag and 107 creators paid by Wayfair. Now it's Friedman, all because Megyn Kelly said Blake Lively came off like a real bitch? These people aren't just unhinged. They're rich, paranoid, and dangerous. By the way, can someone make me a t-shirt that says rich, paranoid, and dangerous? I feel like that would be good for your dating profile. Rich, paranoid, and dangerous. I'd hit that if I were single. Upon questioning by Friedman at a recent deposition. So this is where it gets interesting. Now we are trickling information. We're like a thirsty man in the desert. Please give me some tea here. Upon questioning by Friedman at a recent deposition. Okay, so now they're basically, letting us know that Brian Friedman, power attorney of Justin Baldoni, was the one questioning Blake Lively at her deposition last week. Lively admitted that the only ongoing smear campaign about which she has personal knowledge involves redacted. Now, what could that mean? Well, right after that, it said counterclaims filed without retaliatory motive and with a reasonable basis in fact and law, such as the claims filed by the Wayfair parties against Lively, do not constitute an adverse employment action within the meaning of anti-discrimination statutes. So essentially, she's claiming that the smear campaign is their counterclaim against her. Don't you hate that? Isn't that annoying? Somebody makes a claim at you. You defend yourself. Baldoni's defending himself, and that defense that he's making is now seen as a smear on her. At what point will she realize there isn't a coordinated campaign? People just don't like you. Look, there's plenty of people online that do not like me. I do not think it's coordinated. I just think they don't like me. They can all get together and drink tea and talk about, they don't like my mullet. I don't care. Whatever. You know what I mean? What other people think of me is none of my business. I wish Blake Lively could live in a world where she understands, look, you're famous. You're attractive. You're a star. You're worth a lot of money. Some people just aren't going to like you. That's just how it works. And of course, the other thing, she's a snob. I think it's really because she's a snob. I think that's the 4-letter word that best describes her. She's a snob. People don't like a snob. She isn't as funny as she thinks she is, and so that it comes off like an a-hole. Or as Megyn Kelly says, a bitch. And that kind of explains that. So this was just a very interesting moment, though, where we get to see a little bit of what might be going on behind the scenes at the deposition. That being that she's now claiming the smear campaign that she knows about is the retaliatory one. Well, isn't that so why have all these...
If Blake Lively admitted under oath that she had no knowledge of an active smear campaign, it raises a strange question. Why are her legal moves now focusing on content creators? Subpoenas have been sent to creators who criticize the marketing of It Ends With Us, a step that seems inconsistent and has left many people confused. One of the main targets is Nadia Jean, reads a TikTok creator whose videos examined the film's promotional approach, showing how the marketing tone felt out of touch with the book's serious themes. Importantly, Nadia's content was not personal. She did not attack Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni directly. She focused on the marketing choices, calling them tone deaf and exploitative. So why would such neutral feedback bring legal pressure? The answer may connect to a text message Nadia received telling her to take down her TikToks, along with a claim that damaging information about Baldoni and alleged mistreatment of female cast members would soon come out. To Nadia, this message did not feel casual. It seemed like a calculated attempt to redirect the conversation and manage backlash before the movie release. Its timing just before opening weekend made the intent appear deliberate. Instead of addressing the criticism openly, someone appeared to use intimidation tactics to control the story. What makes this more confusing is that Nadia has repeatedly made her position clear. She was not accusing anyone of misconduct. She was only reviewing the marketing as a reader and creator. Yet her videos, which gained nearly 4 million views, were met not with dialogue, but with subpoenas. Lively's team has asked creators like Nadia for their data, suggesting critics were paid to hurt the movie. Acclaimed Nadia firmly denies they are still subpoenaing us for our data to try to prove we are paid. She said, calling the effort both invasive and offensive. I have nothing to hide, but it is also like, how dare they? This heavy-handed step raises more than ethical concerns. It risks creating fear. For anyone who wants to share honest opinions about celebrities or their projects, legal analysts warned that targeting smaller creators with subpoenas crosses the line between protecting reputations and suppressing dissent. To critics like Nadia, these actions feel less about real accountability and more about quieting independent voices that interrupt a polished public image. The irony is that, according to Nadia, all of this could have been avoided if Blake Lively had admitted to making a mistake. It would have ended, she said. Instead, the approach taken has added more layers, making it look like the subpoenas may not even be about the creators. They could be looking for proof of a larger plan, or maybe it is just a wrong move meant to cover gaps in a failing case. Either way, this issue has grown beyond a few TikToks. It now shows a bigger attempt to reshape the story. And in doing so, the legal pressure might be feeding the same fire it was supposed to stop.
I believe that there was a retaliation campaign when so many of us were not at all involved or paid by Justin to call this out. It frustrates me because they're still subpoenaing us for our data, like 60 more creators, all subpoenaed to try and prove that we're paid by. And it's like, I got nothing to hide, but it's also like, how dare they, to an extent. But is it starting to frustrate you? I know you stayed out of it, but seeing how far she's going to avoid just admitting that she kind of messed up and was a little tone deaf during the marketing, do you think had she done that, all of this would have gone away?
I absolutely do. Whether there was a retaliation campaign or not, if there was, they would have been able to wipe their hands and they wouldn't have had to do much. I wholeheartedly believe that the criticism over the way that she handled the film specifically was organic and valid. So to call it a smear, to call it retaliation, is to invalidate these very valid criticisms, right? So that's what's frustrating. I do believe that if, at least from where I stand, if this had have been a call-in, right, which it was at the beginning, and you had have heard that, said, oh, I made a mistake, took accountability, this was prior to opening weekend. There was still time during the actual rollout and marketing of this film to have changed that approach. And
the backlash over the marketing of It Ends With Us began almost immediately after the promotional materials were released, with critics like Nadia G. Reeds quickly calling the campaign tone deaf and even exploitative. At the heart of the issue was a clear gap between the film's serious themes of domestic violence and how it was being promoted. Instead of highlighting the gravity of the story, the marketing leaned heavily on promoting Blake Lively's personal products, including her alcohol and hair care brands. For many, this felt off and highly inappropriate, as if the important messages of the story were being pushed aside for business interests. Nadia, who has a large TikTok following, did not hold back. Her videos explained why the campaign felt exploitative and why its focus clashed with the story's sensitive topic. Her criticism was calm and constructive. She never accused anyone of bad intentions. She only examined the marketing choices and pointed out their problems. Her content quickly went viral, reaching nearly 4 million views. At first, the discussion stayed focused on the marketing, but things became more tangled as different narratives began to spread. Accusations appeared claiming Justin Baldoni's team had tried to arrange smear efforts to redirect blame, but Nadia's critiques were entirely her own, based only on the campaign's mistakes. She kept saying her concern was about the marketing, not behind-the-scenes disputes. Yet she still got caught in the growing legal mess. This shows how fragile celebrity marketing can be. Campaigns are designed to build attention and interest, but when dealing with serious topics like domestic abuse, mistakes can trigger quick backlash. For Lively and her team, tying the promotions so strongly to unrelated personal brands made conflict almost certain. It started to feel less like a thoughtful approach to the project and more like ignoring the deeper meaning of the book, showing how easily public trust can break when mixed with self-promotion. Nadia has also said this could have been handled differently with more openness. She has repeated that if Blake Lively had admitted some mistakes, the backlash could have been reduced for her accountability was not only fair, but exactly what was needed. Her frustration at being pulled into the legal fallout shows how avoiding responsibility can make conflicts worse instead of calming them. And that leads to the main question: did Blake Lively's team use the backlash as a shield, or was it just the result of poor marketing decisions? Either way, the situation stands as a warning about the risks of mixing serious storytelling with commercial promotion, and how mismanagement can ripple when high-profile figures are involved.
It's just August 8th. Continue. So you followed up. Unfortunately, yes, something is going to come out against Justin, and tragically, it isn't only from Blake, which hasn't actually come to fruition yet.
No.
Everyone else has stayed pretty quiet. Now,
Yeah.
Granted, they may be afraid given how everyone's reacted, but still, you'd think at this point they would have stood tall with Blake when everyone was on her side to really definitively set the tone, set the tone and the facts. But they seem to be avoiding it like the plague now, which makes me wonder: is that true, or was Blake sort of getting these women to sort of agree with her due to her own power mounts? You ask where it's come from, and it's a standard: oh, my family's in the industry, blah 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 blah. Take it as a grain of salt, but it all feels very manipulative. And it feels exactly like the things they're accusing Justin of when I see this. That's why it was so shocking to me, because they're claiming, oh, he's playing dirty. But here we are on August 8th before any of it's going down. I mean, honestly, I ask you, no wonder he hired a PR crisis person, right? If this is the kind of stuff that was out there and the things that are bubbling over, and they're going to start putting some stuff that he disagrees with, whether it happened or not, he's going to disagree. They clearly disagreed throughout the film. Do you believe he had the right to hire a team to try to combat the PR and clearly go against the secret tactics that Blake was clearly going to do and able to afford?
Well, I mean, like I said to you the last time that we spoke, I can't speak at all to whether or not her allegations of what happened on set are true. I don't want to, especially if they are. I wasn't there. I don't know that. However, when it comes to smear campaign and retaliation being the criticism that she received online, that is what I wholeheartedly believe is organic. If that's what we're speaking about, yeah, I'm sure, I would have hired a PR team too. Like if I didn't start that and this was organic and this was people's genuine, valid criticism, that's not me doing anything wrong. That's not me coming at you. This is valid criticisms of a mistake that you made and that you're doubling down on, essentially, right? I mean, there's multiple aspects to the lawsuits that are happening now. There's what's happened on set. There's the smear campaign and the online criticism that she received, which is separate than what happened on set. And then there's all of the rollout that's happened.
Are we seeing a deliberate manipulation or just a misunderstanding that spun out of control? Blake Lively's legal battle exposes the tense mix of power, secrecy, and fear that often drives Hollywood conflicts. At first, it may seem like just another celebrity lawsuit, but her deposition and what followed reveals something much bigger: how high-profile legal fights double as arenas for controlling public opinion. The deposition especially became a turning point where Lively admitted the smear campaign she had claimed existed was based on redacted material, instantly damaging her credibility. This was not a small mistake. It struck at the heart of her accusations against the Wayfair parties. Once cracks appeared in her story, it set off a chain reaction, showing how fragile even the most carefully managed narrative can be. Hollywood legal cases rarely stay inside the courtroom. They are not just about deciding who is right or wrong. They are about shaping how the public sees those involved after the case. And celebrities and their legal teams put huge effort into steering this image-moving narratives to protect influence and status. Lively's team showed this clearly when they switched from attacking Wayfair to claiming post-litigation defamation, a common move in Hollywood lawsuits. When the first claims weaken, redirect, and try to stand on stronger ground. The subpoenas sent to content creators like TikTok user Nadia G. Reeds reveal even more about this pattern: going after people for commenting on marketing sends a message, though not always the one intended. Nadia, whose critiques of it ends with "us marketing were neutral and focused on poor decisions rather than personal attacks," described how her videos turned into legal trouble. This targeting of creators raises serious questions. Is it really about silencing critics or about finding proof? Were these subpoenas meant to recover lost credibility or to gather details to support a fading story? The line between controlling a message and Suppressing dissent is thin, and in high-stakes cases like this, it can disappear entirely. The larger spotlight makes the stakes even higher. Viral commentary has highlighted the tense, high-pressure nature of Hollywood disputes, where image is everything, and losing control of the story can be disastrous. This case shows how weak celebrity narratives can be. No matter how powerful the person is, even carefully planned stories can collapse under close inspection. Beyond Lively's case, this episode shows how Hollywood lawsuits often become PR wars, where what is at risk is not just reputation but the power to shape what people believe. Her deposition exposed the weakness of her narrative. The supposed smear campaign depended on redacted information, showing how unstable the public story was. It is a reminder that what is shown to the public in celebrity legal conflicts may not match reality. Courts do more than decide legal results. They influence perception, shape reputations, and control the stories that millions follow. For audiences, this case is a reason to question headlines, look deeper, and see that in a world of managed high-stakes PR, openness and honesty matter far more than any spin. Blake Lively's legal path shows that even powerful figures are vulnerable when their stories rest on shaky ground, and that the fight to control public opinion can matter as much as the legal battle itself.